The first thing I want to talk about today is Pop! OS 2204 long-term support. It's been released, it's been probably almost a week now, maybe a little bit longer than that. Came out about the same time as Ubuntu 2204 LTS. But we're going to dive in and talk a little bit about the system that System 76 has created for us. So I guess the place to start is to talk a little bit about why this distribution even exists. So Pop! OS is a Linux distro, of course, and it was created by System 76 in order to showcase their Linux-based hardware. They wanted a way that would differentiate that not only their hardware, but they also wanted to have something new that would allow their hardware to shine. So that's the reason for it. It is based on Ubuntu, and it closely follows Canonical's release schedule. Expertise levels is something I've added that's new. This is considered a beginner place for beginners to start out, unless your name is Linus. And if you probably remember, Linus's experience with Pop! OS was not too good because of a bug that was in the operating system distro at the time. So really not his fault. But System 76 released their very first version of Pop! OS about 4 years ago in October of 2017. So they haven't been around a lot of time. But they were the first to do several things. First of all, they offer direct support for Intel and AMD graphics card in what they call their base release. And then they have our base version. And then the second version that they offer is one specifically developed for NVIDIA graphics cards. So if you have an NVIDIA GPU, then you would install that version. Otherwise, if you have an AMD or Intel version, you install the base version without the NVIDIA support. System requirements for Pop! OS: at a minimum, a 64-bit CPU, 2 gig of memory, needs about 16 gig of disk space, and 1024 by 768 is the norm today. So if you have older screens that are 800 by 640, you might get it to work, but most of the time you're going to find the default systems are going to come up in 1024, which of course may cover up and hide buttons on the screen and make it difficult for you to navigate to get to a smaller display that you need. Pop! OS recommends, however, a 64-bit CPU with at least 2 cores. 4 gig of memory. Today, you're probably in these systems, if you're really trying to use them for anything, probably more realistically around 8. 16 gigabytes of disk space and 1024 screen resolution, so about the same there. As far as the kernel that's used in this, they're using 5.16. So let's talk about some of the changes that you can expect to see with the 5.16 kernel. So, I mean, most of the changes in 5.16 have to do with performance and health reporting. This particular version, one of the first stable places for the 12th gen Intel. So they added a new Futex Wait 5 system call for faster game performance. So if you're gaming on Linux, then you may find this kernel speeds things up for you. Also, the file system health reporting, you can now get that through Fan Notify. Fan Notify basically reports what the temperatures are of your CPU and other components on your system board. Memory Follows infrastructure allows for faster memory management. And I have noticed with this particular version, and I don't know, for some reason I didn't notice it so much under Ubuntu, but with the Pop! OS version, have noticed that this seems to be a lot more responsive. Applications launch faster. Applications seem to be able to change windows, and you can flip the screen faster, and it just seems the system boots faster. Also, it has added cluster scheduler support to the task scheduler. It did add support for AMX instructions. Now that they didn't go into specifics on which ones are or which ones aren't supported, but there is now daemon-based proactive memory reclamation. So yeah, it's more proactive. So it's not waiting for there used to be a wait schedule on how things got reclaimed. Operation schemes, and there's physical memory monitoring, and of course you would expect that if you were doing proactive memory reclamation. One of the other things is that, and I talked about this a bit in Fedora, that there is a write congestion improvement, so that as your system gets busy, to try to manage it so that you don't pile on all the IOs going out to your system drive. So what are some of the changes with Pop! OS itself? And maybe what are the differences between some of the other components? So I guess the first thing to talk about is, what about Cosmic's desktop environment? Now, there are pieces in this release, and we're in the last one too, that are part of Cosmic. But what about the total desktop environment? When is that here? No, it's not here yet. So you can expect, according to System 76, you can expect an alpha release sometime this summer in 2022. So alpha means it's not done, it's not code complete, but it's an early look at the system. Usually it's not very stable either. So we just talked about the Linux kernel. It is based on GNOME 42. One of the things that that System 76 did in this release, updates to the system used to come out as needed. And I remember and one of the frustrating things about running Pop! OS in the past has been, you apply an update, 30 seconds later you get a notification that there's another one. So yeah, they're not gonna do that to you this time. It defaults to once a week. It provides notification of updates to you. You can set it to either daily, weekly, or monthly. There's also, if you are using System 76 hardware, there are some new things that are available to you, like there's troubleshooting in the support panel for helping not only you figure out what's going on, but if you need support from System 76 to help them narrow down what the problem might be. You can set the desktop backgrounds just like you can on Ubuntu, where you have one for light and one for dark, but they're a lot more clear about how theirs work than Ubuntu is. There's also enhanced performance with a new scheduler that System 76 developed. So they are starting to add additional add-on features that they feel are needed. There is a new and improved Pop Shop. I saw some comparisons between Elementary OS and Pop! OS. There are quite a few differences between the two. I have heard people say that, well, Pop is using the store from Elementary, but not exactly. There are some differences that System 76 provides. It is based on it, yes, but there are some differences. If you want, I can probably go through and detail those for you in a future video, but don't think I'm going to do that today. Also, the default audio is now moved to Pipewire instead of Pulse Audio. So additional improvements, and the install NVIDIA drivers are now visible in the Pop Shop. Better performance with improvements to the CPU scaling governor. The Pop! OS upgrade service now only activates when checking for or performing a release upgrade. Previously, that thing was running 24/7, and like I said, it's annoying, or it was annoying with Pop! OS that it. Yeah, you go ahead and install an upgrade, and then 10 seconds later, hey, I got another one. Thanks. Thanks for telling me. If your upgrade gets interrupted, I just had that happen yesterday, where I was in the middle of an upgrade, and we had a storm roll through, and the power went out right in the middle. It didn't sound like normally I'm careful about storms. If they seem like they're going to be kind of intense, I'll kind of stop what I'm doing. Maybe shut down a few things, but that I didn't have any time. It started out real nice and gentle, and then it just escalated into a monster storm. So anyway, so if that happens to you, there's now an easy way you can pick up where you left off. You don't have to go through the calisthenics that you normally do when you get interrupted in the middle of an update. File type for icons has been changed to a .svg, which has a little bit better, a little bit crisper resolution. Because it is a vector-based drawing instead of a bitmap. Max disk capacity for journal logs is now limited to 1 gig, and the file type icon for the icons has been changed also to SVG. There's also added support for laptop privacy screens. I'm going to guess that that probably is a feature in their laptops, some of them. RDP is by default for remote desktop use. Okay, whatever. That doesn't excite me. I wouldn't use RDP if you paid me. Better performance scaling and reliability in PopShop is also there as well. I did notice that the PopShop is a lot more performant than it has been in the past. So we'll see that today. Also, let's get started and do an installation. And I'll be right back. I just need to go set up. Okay, so I have everything set up. I am running this on a virtual machine, and I am going to be installing this today to hardware, but I'm not probably going to record it in time for this video. So I am probably going to move this laptop that I'm currently running on. This is a Lenovo X series, and let's see. I have I have the system going into the live CD, and it has come up and it has asked me to install Pop! OS 2204 LTS. So as usual, pick my language. So we'll do that, and then your variant of your language, which, yeah, that would be important. Yeah, let's see. Keyboard layout is US, and we're going to default it. It'll ask you if you want to put this next to another operating system, but I'm going to do a clean install today because that's the only option I have. I will select that, and then we'll erase cleanly that disk and install it. And then it asks you for a setup. One of the new features with this release is you'll notice this icon is new. So yeah, before they didn't have that one. So we'll go ahead and give it a super secret password. And we'll go ahead and do our usual. Now it's asking me if I want to encrypt. Normally I would do that on a laptop, but not for a VM. It's already behind a firewall, and it has a password to get at it. So I can encrypt the devices that it's stored on. So we'll go ahead and say don't encrypt, and we'll come back and go ahead and start the partitioning and extracting the files. I'll be back when this is done. It's 3:18 p.m. according to the clock. That is extremely fast. That took about a minute, maybe a little bit more than a minute to actually do the installation. So we'll go ahead and restart this device, and I'll be back when that's done. Okay. We'll go ahead and log in to the system. So yeah, it's telling me I need to do an update. We'll get to that in a minute. But first, we have a welcome to Pop screen, and it's asking me. So you notice that first of all, it's really kind of blurry. So this is not set up to the ideal resolution that we want for today, but we'll go ahead and quickly do that and get this set up, and then we'll take care of that with the settings. So, all right, so we're going to do a dock extends to the edges. You can also turn it off, or you can just have it in the center like that. So, which I like it that way because it looks nicer when you start adding applications to it. That's just my preference. As far as the top bar, I can show the Workspaces button or the Applications button, and then Titan Date in the center or wherever you might want it. I can also select what my super key does. So in my case, I want it to just show me the desktop. I have a trackpad on this, but on this laptop, but of course it's hooked into a VM, so the VM won't understand it. So this doesn't matter. I do want the dark appearance, and privacy location services, we'll leave that off. Time zone, we'll select Chicago if I can get close enough to it. Nope, that was Monami. I don't think so. Let's try it down here. There we go. And then you can set up your online accounts. It's pretty similar to most of them, and then we're done. So the first thing I want to do is go in here and go down to my displays and set up this. And that should help it look a little bit better now. A little sharper, a little more defined. So one of the things that differentiates Pop from some of the others is that it has support for both NVIDIA and AMD drivers in the default version. There's also a version that includes the NVIDIA drivers. So you can, if you have an NVIDIA graphics card, you can have it set up the way you want it. Now, this is using Wayland, and they do, I think, so we'll check on that today. So we have an update we need to take care of here, and it shows up here. So one of the things that we talked about earlier was the updates now won't bug you every day. So every time there's an update, normally Pop would print a notification and say, hey, you got an update to take care of. I think now they have this cycling once a week, which is adequate. That's fine. Unless you have some concerns about maybe a security patch that you think you need. Based on whatever news you hear about it. So let's stop with this for right now, and we'll just take a look at the general system. So one of the big changes here is this is not Cosmic DE. Cosmic DE isn't finished yet. So this is still GNOME 42. But they are actively working on Cosmic desktop environment, and that should be in alpha sometime this summer, according to the website. But let's take a look. So I have this workspaces menu now where I can easily select between workspaces, and I have an applications menu that can pop up at the same time. So I can have, instead of, you probably remember on GNOME, normally the workspaces sit up here, and then there's a whole bunch of applications down here. So they organize their applications. So you have your Office apps, your system apps, your utilities, and you can also create your own folders and put whatever you want to in those. So, and then your library home is your most commonly used applications or things that are of interest to you. And then at the bottom, we have our dock row here, and then we have the launcher, which is where I can do a search for something. Let's try term, and we have a GUI now to add. Let's see what that looks like. I'm just curious. Oh, it's just part of that. All right, never mind. So I just thought maybe they might have had something in there to manage it online, but they don't yet. All right, so we can open up a terminal window. Just another way of getting to it. There's your applications window, same thing as that. And then you have your applications. So we're going to take a look and see what we've got here. Now you'll notice that they are not using snaps. That came up way too fast for a snap application for the first time. So yeah, Pop! OS is not following Ubuntu. So yeah, version 99. And I'm pretty sure this is a standard package. We can do a snap list. See, they don't even have it installed. So yeah, nice. So if you want it, you can install it, and again, we'll look at the store in a minute. So you have your file browser here. So it has the pretty typical theme for Pop! OS. This might be a little bit different than the last version. Looks like it's a little bit more defined. You have your applications installs here. So you can install a Flatpak or a Deb. So now they're defaulting to Flatpak. So you'll have to be careful with that. But not all of them. Let's take a look at visual. That's a flat or a Pop. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and reboot, and I'll be back when that's done. It is X11. So they have not yet made the conversion over to Wayland yet either. Okay, so let's take a look at some things here. How much memory we're taking base. 919 meg, a little higher than the default for Ubuntu. 110 tasks, 261 threads. and it's taken about 7.3 gig with my additions. Yeah, with the additions of these. Let's see how many packages and stuff we have. It is 1,800. Yeah, it's 1,846 packages. Definitely more. It's running a 5.16.19 kernel, and okay. I'll be back when this is done. So yeah, typical. That's always common. You need to have. They want you to have a firewall. Password on the group bootloader. Yeah, we still have this issue, and we probably will continue to. Let's see. Disable the core dump, password hashing, PAM strength. We need to have expiration dates for the password, and set our UMask. Make sure that we're decreasing the risks associated with the full file system on what would happen to the system if we did that. Set up, and then these are all need to be defined as being either in the system or out. A banner, process accounting, integrity, blah, blah, blah. System control options are not set correctly. Again, be careful with the recommendations here. If you scroll up, it will show you this, and I think one of the ones in here disables USB mounts. So if you have file systems that you're mounting that you need that are USB based, yeah, that may fail. Yeah. So just be careful what you're doing in here. Following directions blindly can lead to systems that no longer boot. So here's the word of the wise. All right. 64 is an overall score. It just says I have some compilers and I need a malware scanner. So 64 overall, 267 tests, 2 plugins. Is it bad? No. That's pretty typical with most desktops and servers these days, about this good starting point. I have not tested the Ubuntu script for hardening yet on this. I will do that, and then I will let you know how that goes. So overall, let's go back and talk a little bit about some of my final thoughts. So after going through the installation with you and looking at some of the features of the Pop! OS on the screen, my final thoughts are, first of all, it installs extremely fast. It seems to be very responsive. Even running, I'm running Spice as my virtual screen into the VM. So normally that's pretty fast, but there's usually some lag that's kind of noticeable. I didn't see any of that with Pop! OS. I didn't notice any of that at all. I'm just running over a 1 gig network, so I mean it seemed really quick and responsive to me. The other thing I like about it is I don't find, some people find the Pop! OS cartoony. I don't. I just find it crisp. It's very fresh. I like the way it looks. And I'm probably going to switch over this laptop that I use to do these presentations on and try to do that. So I'll probably get that done maybe today or tomorrow. Depends on the weather. It's supposed to be raining all week, so who knows? It's probably not a good time this week to be messing with system upgrades. So, all right, I'm going to leave you with the benchmarks. And as always, if you like this video, please like and subscribe. And I hope to see you all again in the next one. Check out the benchmarks and see how it compares to some of the other distributions that are out there. And bye for now.